After 4 years of anticipation, the Renters Reform Bill is finally here. It's had its first reading in Parliament, and I thought I'd summarise the key headlines. Now, the first thing to take away is that this is still just a bill. It's not yet law, and it's not even yet close to becoming law. In fact, at this early bill stage, we don't even have the full details and all of the information in terms of how these proposals will be implemented if and when they become law. So it's not yet time for making concrete conclusions or knee-jerk reactions. There is plenty of time to digest this and understand how this is going to be properly implemented on a practical level. While we do that, however, and while we await further information, here are the key takeaways based on the bill and what we know so far. So the big headlines are that under these proposals, there will be no such thing as an assured short-hold tenancy any longer. We'll effectively be rolling back to the older model of a tenancy known as assured tenancies. Now, what is the key difference between an assured short-hold tenancy and an assured tenancy, you may ask? Well, basically it gives the tenant a little more protection and security of tenure. The key manifesto pledge from the Conservatives was that they were going to abolish Section 21, also known as no-fault evictions, and that is what these proposals intend to do. Section 21 evictions will be a thing of the past and instead replaced by a firmed-up, modified version of Section 8, under which a landlord has to specify a legitimate reason why they intend to end a tenancy. Now, Section 8 itself, under these proposals, is due to be reformed. There will be more legitimate reasons added to Section 8 for a landlord to take back possession of their property. This includes things such as the landlord or a close family member moving into the property, the landlord intending to sell the property. Now, you may think some irresponsible landlords may use these as excuses simply to end a tenancy, but that is going to be discouraged and hopefully eliminated by a landlord being unable to bring a property back to the rental market within a 3-month period should a landlord use one of those reasons to end their tenancy. The other big takeaway from these proposals is the removal of, or the abolition of, the fixed term contract. There'll be no such thing under these proposals as having an initial 12 months to your tenancy, or 6 months, or 24 months, whatever it may be. Every single tenancy will begin as a month-by-month rolling tenancy and continue in that way throughout its lifespan. This is known as periodic. Now, you won't also be able to agree a longer term periodic, so you won't be able to say, well, we'll have a rolling 6-month tenancy. The maximum tenancy period that you can agree is 1 month, and every tenancy will roll on month by month until either the landlord or the tenant serves notice. Now, speaking of tenant notice periods, they are going to be brought up in line with most landlord notice periods. So a tenant, if they wish to end the tenancy, will be able to serve 2 months' notice to do so under these proposals. Rent reviews, let's quickly discuss those. So the only mechanism by which a landlord will be able to review their rent is via Section 13, which you can do once per year, and you'll be required to give 2 months' notice of a rent increase or review. Tenants will have the right to refer unfair rent increases to a tribunal, who will then set the rent. Now, what about pets? This is another much discussed area of these proposals. So tenants will have a right to request a pet. A landlord must give a response within 42 days, and they can only decline that request if they have a legitimate reason for doing so. The only legitimate reason that I've read so far are issues connected to a superior landlord or a head lease. So tenants, it does sound, will have far stronger rights to keep pets in their properties. There is slight further protection for landlords against damages and additional damage caused by those pets, in that they'll be able to insist that their tenant takes out pet damage insurance to cover breakages and damages caused by their pets during the tenancy. A couple more quick things to wrap up with. There is going to be a compulsory landlord redress scheme implemented, where every landlord must join and become a member of this redress scheme. The idea is to prevent so many disagreements with tenants and disputes going to court to hopefully help with the court process in terms of not clogging up the courts with more minor disputes. So tenants will be able to refer complaints and disputes to the redress scheme instead of having to take court action. And finally, the implementation of a private rented sector database. In order to market a property, a landlord will first have to register on the landlord database. And this is going to be something where any member of the public, presumably a tenant, can go find their landlord and see if they have any previous offences, penalties, banning orders. The rest of that is still quite vague in terms of what that portal, that database may be used for. Perhaps compliance. There's a vague mention in the bill to landlords maybe being required to provide documents to that portal, so perhaps some kind of safety checks might fall under that. We'll have to wait and see. There's more to come down the line in terms of additional legislation addressing the proposed decent home standards and blanket bans on not accepting families and other such similar things. That's to come further down the line. And as I say, we're at first reading stage. These proposals may still be tweaked and modified. I don't think we'll see any whole-scale changes to what's been proposed because most of these things have complete cross-party support. So these things are on the way. We're talking about a 1 to 2 year time span in terms of when we may see these finalised and implemented, but we've got a long way to go. So please, don't panic. We will help you to understand these proposals and to understand how this is going to work in the future, but I will keep you updated along the way. That's all for now. Bye-bye.